The challenge: the Income Tax Department has always been pro-technology and future-first. The task involves not just tax administration with deep understanding of economy and its drivers, but also dealing with iron fist for those who evade and chest thump with muscle power. Primary economic activities like mining, which are done in hinterland and involves local populace directly, is one such place where not only tax evasion happens, enforcement agencies face antagonism due to threats to life and property during any invasive action. The department has faced bottlenecks in the area of illicit mining operations, where undervaluation and non-reporting of profits is blatant. The invasive actions like search and seizure or survey becomes a challenge and threat for the team involved on the ground zero. These harsh badlands and their difficult conditions often provided cover that made detection, verification, and timely intervention exceptionally challenging. The officers of the investigation wing conduct field operation under serious threat to life, with teams working in conditions where both the terrain and the local environment posed significant risks. The action has to be like a surgical strike, fast and precise. But stock taking is a humongous task, requiring time and expertise. The threats? Operational limitations made the task even more difficult. Owing to local pressure, officers could not afford to spend extended periods conducting stock-taking exercises at mining sites. The time available for on-ground verification was extremely limited, and prolonged inspections were rarely feasible. More importantly, once minerals were excavated and transported out of the site, verifying the actual volume of production became far more challenging. The terrain itself added another level of complexity. The mines are spread across unstable slopes, steep cuts, and deep excavation pits. In such difficult conditions, physically traversing large mining areas, measuring stock, recording observations, and carrying out conventional stock taking were simply not practical. Adding to these challenges was the changing use of technology by tax evaders. In earlier times, investigation officials often discovered hard copies of receipts, ledgers, and invoices that helped in estimating evasion. But with changing times, evaders increasingly adopted cryptographic methods to store data, making the collection of evidence far more difficult. Approach: at case deliberation stage, the Honorable Chairman, CBDT, Shri Ravi Agrawalji, first highlighted the importance of used advanced data analytics to complete the formidable stock-taking exercise, especially since Sir has been the visionary behind the Digital Intelligence and Analytics Lab, DIL. Under the able leadership of the Director General of Income Tax, Investigation, Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, to respond to this evolution in evasion methods, the Income Tax Department modernized its enforcement approach by integrating advanced technological tools into its investigation framework. It adopted a scientific methodology based on volumetric analysis using geospatial data. High-resolution drone imagery and satellite inputs were used to capture the precise surface geometry of the mining areas. With guidance of Principal Director Investigation, Lucknow, two IRS officers having different domain expertise converged. One officer having years of experience of participating in search operations and stock-taking in such operations, and with a background of information technology and artificial intelligence, and the other having formidable human architecture and superior tactical exploitation proficiency, the idea of deploying modern age methods to traditional spycraft was born. The goal envisaged to use modern technology for stock evaluation in tough terrains and hitherto uncharted territory. With the help of Valiant Solutions, a Google Cloud Platform partner, drone with precision camera and LiDAR were deployed, and satellite images across different time periods were analyzed, enabling investigators to carry out temporal volume analysis. This allowed them to track excavation patterns and estimate the quantity of minerals extracted over time. After sustained planning, different teams of the Income Tax Department carried out a synchronized raid on an alleged illicit extraction syndicate operating mine in Prayagraj, Mirzapur, and Sonbhadra. Simultaneously, multiple teams searched various premises of the assessee, including the corporate office, residence, and mining sites. Raids in mining zones were especially sensitive, as such areas often involved entrenched local networks and the presence of goons, posing serious danger to life. The execution, yet these challenges did not deter the investigation wing. The officers planned and coordinated the operation with precision. The field operations were handled by the Additional Director, Lucknow, while the technology was managed by the Joint Director, Varanasi. In a carefully planned move, officers of the department entered the region disguised as Baratis in a wedding procession. The cover allowed the teams to move discreetly through the area and initiate what would become one of the most technologically advanced search operations ever undertaken by the department. A strong police contingent was deployed to ensure the security of investigators on the ground. Once the search and seizure operation commenced, the difficulties on site became immediately evident. The mining locations were spread across uneven and unstable terrain, marked by steep cuts, deep pits, and loose surfaces. Navigating these areas required covering large distances under hazardous conditions. At the same time, local pressure meant that investigators could not remain at the sites for long durations. The time available for physical inspection was extremely limited, and conventional methods of stock verification proved exceedingly difficult to execute. Future first, technology became the decisive force. Instead of physically traversing the full expanse of the mines, high-definition aerial footage was captured using drones, while radar-based satellite images were obtained using KML coordinates of the geographic locations. Let us now understand the methodology used to determine the quantity of extracted mineral, even after it had already left the ground. An open mine is a three-dimensional object occupying a certain volume in space. This total volume was broken down into small approximate cuboidal elements, each having a square base area of 1 square meter. The depth of each cuboidal element was calculated using radar-based differential elevation data captured through satellite imagery. The volume of each element was then derived by multiplying its depth by the base area. The volumes of all individual elements were aggregated to estimate the total volume extracted from the mine. Since the density of the material was known, and after accounting for the effective extraction rate, the total weight of the extracted material could be determined. By applying the prevailing market price, the revenue generated from the extracted mineral was estimated. The difference between the estimated revenue and the reported revenue could then be construed as tax evasion. Using historical satellite data, an analysis from the year 2022 to the present was conducted. Outcome: these findings gave investigators far more than a numerical estimate. They provided a credible scientific basis to link mining expansion with possible revenue suppression, thereby strengthening the case for enforcement action. The action of the investigation wing soon drew widespread media attention, and the story turned sensational as influential individuals were believed to be involved.
वहीं सोनभद्र से बड़ी खबर, जहां आयकर की टीम की बड़ी छापेमारी, एक साथ कई ठिकानों पर रेड से खनन व्यापारियों में मचा हड़कंप।
तीसरे दिन भी जारी है आईटी की रेड।
तो सोनभद्र जनपद के डाला में बता दें कि आज सुबह से ही आईटी इनकम टैक्स विभाग की छापेमारी चल रही है सोनभद्र जनपद में। तो
25 गाड़ियों में पहुंची आयकर की टीम। रेड की गाड़ियों पर लगे थे शादी के स्टिकर। रेड में 60 से अधिक अफसर कर्मचारी शामिल है। खास बात यह है कि कई लग्जरी गाड़ियों पर शादी के पंपलेट भी लगाए गए थे ताकि कार्रवाई पूरी तरह से।
Yet, despite the attention and pressure surrounding the case, the officers of the department remained steadfast and continued the operation with resolve. This volumetric assessment significantly strengthened the evidentiary foundation for legal proceedings. It supported the issuance of robust warrants and enabled further enforcement action. In effect, the audit process had moved beyond assumption to measurable validation. More importantly, this exercise demonstrated something far greater than the resolution of a single investigation. It established the promise of a scalable, technology-driven audit framework for oversight in the mining sector. Stock-taking exercise, which otherwise took multiple days, was completed barely within 24 hours using this technology. Once the technology was proven, the investigation wing used the same methodology in searches, which were later conducted by the UP West Zone in areas of Chhatarpur in Madhya Pradesh and Mahoba in Uttar Pradesh. It marked a decisive shift in the enforcement capabilities of the department, where intelligence is strengthened by science, verification is backed by data, and investigation is no longer constrained by terrain, time, or intimidation. This is not merely the story of one successful operation, it is a glimpse into the future of tax enforcement in India. Precise, evidence-based, technology-led, and ready for scale. Who could have thought that studying AI and flying drone as a hobby by one officer would become cutting edge for the department?